Hi, my name is Dave McClure. I've been a geek, I've been a programmer, a marketer, an entrepreneur. Kind of sucked at most of that stuff, trying to make a living as an investor. We'll see if that works. If not, maybe basket weaving will be a backup. How many of you are entrepreneurs? All right. How many of you have a product that's shipping right now? How many of you have a product that people are paying you for right now? How many of you have a business that people are paying you for and you have no other income? Okay. How many of you are profitable right now? How many of you have raised any money whatsoever from other people, friends, family, investors, whatever? How many of you raised more than $10,000? More than $50,000? More than $100,000? More than $250,000? More than $500,000? More than $1 million?
Do the man.
Not sure you're gonna come up here and give this presentation in? All right, so
I like that.
this is actually a pretty entrepreneurial audience, and I was glad to see that a lot of people kept their hands up for the we're charging for this, as well as we have a product and shipping, and even a few people were profitable and have raised some money. This talk is about how to put together a deck for an investor. Some of you may be doing that here, and this isn't the only way to put together an investor deck. There's plenty of other presentations on the web. There was a great presentation by Tim, I'm forgetting Tim's last name, founder of Socialcast.
Tim Young.
What was that?
Tim Young.
Tim Young, thank you. Founder of Socialcast. It was 5 slides. That's another great way to think about stuff, but this might work for you as well. And these slides are on SlideShare. SlideShare, give it up for SlideShare, hometown, yes! That was lame for your SlideShare, come on you guys. This is like, you know, your hometown boys. All right, and what else was I gonna say? I tweeted out the link to this, and I also tweeted out a presentation called Your Solution is Not My Problem. How many of you have ever heard that before, or heard, you know, pitch problem, not solution? Okay, great. So typically, when I hear entrepreneurs pitch, they say, I've got an X for Y. And sometimes that works. But often I don't care, I don't give a shit. You know, and so what I really want to tell people is that you want to connect with the person who's listening, usually emotionally if you can, but you want to understand like who your customer is, what problem you're solving, or what desire you're satisfying, and really trying to understand for the person who's listening, how do they connect with that story. So you don't want to be pitching, you know, a solution that's about enterprise software stack management to someone who's an investor in consumer startups, or vice versa. And you probably don't want to be pitching in extremely technical terms that the person you're listening to is not. On the contrary, if the other person is extremely technical, then you might want to, you know, go to town on going down that rabbit hole. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I love to make presentations interactive. So how many of you know how to heckle? Any of you? Yeah, prove it. Can you give it? Can you bring it up right now? Yes? What sucks about this presentation so far?
Everything. I mean, you can't.
Everything. You can't see shit on the bottom, right? That's terrible, right?
It's ridiculous.
Yes. What? You put me shirt? That's like sexist or offensive. Yes, right. So, by the way, this deck will offend you, especially if you're a woman. It'll probably give you lots of incorrect advice. Hopefully you won't get arrested, but you might, so fucking deal with it. And I swear regularly, so I'm sorry, but you're here, and you're gonna have to just deal with me being an obnoxious, loudmouth, hillbilly American. Is that okay with all of you? All right. But I encourage heckling and I encourage feedback. I encourage questions. Nobody got a question they think is awesome right now? Give it up. Anybody? You guys suck. Questions? What? Come on. Yeah, right. TJ.
Who would win a fight between Gumby and the Gummy Bears?
Gumby and the Gummy Bears? Gumby, damn it! Yes?
What happens when a vampire bites a zombie?
Vampire bites a zombie. Well, these are extremely relevant questions to this presentation. The vampire's already dead, so fuck that. I don't know, zombie's not going to be turned into a vampire, so like that's neutral. Nobody wins. Nothing happens. Yeah, it's a push. Anybody else want any other completely irrelevant questions?
Batman or Superman?
Oh, dude, come on! Superman's gonna crush Batman. What the fuck is your problem? Actually, Batman might have some kryptonite in his utility belt, so you never know. What? Am I wearing shoes? I'm wearing flip-flops straight from Brazil. Do I own shoes? Yes, I own shoes. I was in Japan and Paris where it was cold. I was wearing clothes and cold shoes. Okay, you can ask some questions that are about startups too. All right. So, if you talk to an investor, what's the first thing you're going to do? Anybody?
Say hi. The problem? Introduce.
Say the problem, maybe. Introduce yourself. If you actually met an investor in the elevator, what would you do?
Tell them they have a problem.
Pitch.
Pitch? Okay.
I can make him more money.
Tell them you can make more money.
Stop the elevator.
Okay. What?
Stop the elevator.
Okay, so if you think you're awesome, you know, you can go for it. Or if you think so if your business is actually already compelling, you should probably try the pitch. If your business is not compelling, I would advise you not necessarily to pitch that dude in the elevator or pitch that person in the elevator. Here's the one thing I would give you as a piece of advice. The trick to sort of getting an investor to pay attention to you is to not be a fucking psychotic weirdo for like 3 times in a row. That's it. Just be in the room with them, around them, and don't be a weirdo for like 3 times. And like we have this kind of like strange thing about like when people don't kill us or don't like act weird or socially improper, then you're like, oh, okay, they're part of the tribe, right? And after the 3rd time, like, oh, I've seen that person before, and they were not a psychotic weirdo last time. That's cool. Right? But if you're the person who's like the first experience they have with you is they're, hey, can you want to buy my car? It's really awesome. I've got this thing. It's really cool. Do you want to like find out more about it? And your answer is like, fuck no, I don't want to. I don't want to find anything. I'm sorry. Anyway. Yes, there's a minor in the audience, and I apologize for swearing in front of minors, but.
Father is Australian.
Okay, great. Awesome. Awesome. Could you write a letter to my wife? Because like I'm running into this problem right now. Yes, so anyway, that's the thing about pitching is understanding whether you have juice, one, and the other one is whether the other person is receptive to that juice. In general, like if you have no relationship with that person, trying to pitch them is going to probably suck unless you're awesome and your product is already awesome. Anyway, just a few words of advice. So in general, I think when you meet those people, if they're slightly receptive to your pitch, you want to tell them one thing that's interesting, and not much more than that, and then you earn the right to sort of get your next 30 seconds, and then you earn the right to get 2 minutes, and then you earn the right to get 5 minutes, and then you earn the right to get 30 minutes, which you earn the right to get a meeting, which might earn you the right to get a check, which might earn you the right to like get an investor. Like, except usually you fail way back over here because you're fucking annoying and not interesting, right? So, gotta understand where you're coming from, and you know, if you're interesting and they're receptive and your pitch doesn't suck, then you might get to the next step. All right, so things that matter. Your quick pitch, which hopefully is problem focused, not solution focused. You have a demo maybe somewhere. It might be a picture, it might actually be the demo, it might be a video, it might be lots of things. Market probably matters, and particularly metrics about that market if you have them. Although I care more about actual customers and revenue than I do about revenue projections. Now, this may not be the case for all investors that you talk to. There may be some investors who want you to show 5-year revenue projections that equal $20 million, $50 million, $1 billion business. Usually that's a waste of fucking time, it's lies, it's statistics, and it's not reality, but again, you need to understand who you're pitching and whether they care about that stuff. Me, I care about actual customers, the last 3 to 6 months worth of working product history, metrics, whatever. Maybe I'd give you a 3-month extrapolation forward on that, but like, still kind of skeptical. Other things, your team matters, particularly if they actually have done something. And then, you know, within those, there's lots of other things that are interesting, and you can arrange this in any order, and there's more things to talk about. Those pictures don't matter at all. They're just there to distract you, grab your attention. So this, again, highly offensive slide, probably. But like, if you're pitching, hey, how to lose weight to someone who's starting, that's not a good match. Right? So kind of need to understand, again, context for your solution and their problem. If your solution doesn't match their problem, it's a waste of fucking time. And commercial, right, whatever. I used to be a geek coder and entrepreneur, now I'm an investor, done that for about, I don't know, 200 or 300 companies. Yeah, maybe. And 500 startups, we're a seed fund, we're a floor wax and a dessert topping. We run an incubator, we also run a seed fund. We've done a few investments, something like 242. A few of those are in India. Actually, the ones on the bottom of the slide share Kissmetrics. I'm a personal investor. They're not actually in our fund just yet. But both of those are run by Indian Americans. We'll probably do some more investments in India next year, but don't get your hopes up and don't pitch me, bro. Oh, the other thing. You know that person who's going up in the elevator, right? So you want to find out who's connected to them, and then work angles. So like another strategy is the second most important person in the room. Like, so if there's this big important investor or something like that, there's like 50 people mobbing them, again, you're not probably gonna get their attention. But if they're like, you know, the person who's not famous at that firm, or, you know, their assistant, or someone that's just spouse, partner, friend, whatever, that person's probably got nobody next to them. You can go like talk to them, right? And establish that relationship and then start to build credibility for working back to the other parties that are interested. So that's the second most important person in the room strategy. Is anybody, can I get a glass of water or something? I'm gonna run dry here for just a second. Awesome, wow, he's ready. Did you already drink out of this? Okay, cool. Just wondering. You're the dude from Croatia, right? Ah, cool. This dude came all the way from Croatia here to like... That's kind of psychotic weirdo thing, I think. But he actually got a connection through someone else who's Croatian that we already invested in, so that's not as crazy. Okay, so this shit's kind of important. The other thing is investors are usually painfully arrogant and not paying attention to you. So if they tell you you're going to get an hour, personally, you'll probably get like 5 or 10 minutes if you're lucky. So you want this reverse pyramid order of importance. So at the very least, you want like some image or something that's on the front of your presentation, the front of your slide deck that hopefully they'll remember. You want to give them the pitch quickly. If that's kind of relevant, that's like 30 seconds. You want to try and focus on that problem and then figure out how you describe a solution and jump into demo. Now, you may only get those first 3 things done. That's really all you need. The other stuff is all backup and interesting things that will be useful. Wow, you guys got all sorts of water now. What? You're drowning. Cool, thank you very much. Drop that for a second. Don't drink the mic. I was about to drink the mic. Did you see that? Okay. Anyway, so market size, business model, proprietary technology, competition, etc. You don't have to do them in that order. In fact, I would advise you to think about like what's the most important set of things that you want to talk about and move those more towards the front of the presentation. You can leave a big bang for the end, but in general, I wouldn't advise having your most important statements at the end because you might not get there. And the other stuff, like at some point you're going to have this demo that you do, probably, at least for me, I care about business metrics. If you don't have actual product shipping, well, if you don't have like lots of customers, I would say customer testimonials or customers' discussions around their problems can proxy for actual, customers or larger amounts of revenue. All right, so let's talk about the pitch. Anybody think they've got an amazing pitch? Yes, this person, go, right now. Hit it, stand up, talk. You've got an audience of 300 people, 200 people, whatever.
Wow, so the pitch is on this presentation.
Whatever, you got something to sell?
Yeah, the application.
Okay.
Alright, so the application is about, I have 1 minute, right?
You're losing it now, but yes.
Okay, the application is about that instead of going to a shop for finding or buying a frame, you discover it online or over an application because it takes your face and superimposes the frame on it, and you finally get the result. You get to see yourself with the frames on. You can share it with your friends on Facebook, get a response, and buy it online. Okay, how many people understood that pitch? Wow, okay.
Yay!
That's a start. How many people would consider taking a look at it? How many people think they would buy it? Wow, look at that conversion percentage. That's just really interesting. I was like, wow, look at all those people saying they're willing to buy it. Or saying willing to try it. Okay, not bad. So I didn't catch the frames were glasses part at first. That may be context dependent. Is frames like very commonly understood as glasses in India?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, so that was pretty good. Anybody else want to try it? By the way, what's your name?
Harsh.
Harsh, what's the name of the company?
Spexy.
Yeah, you didn't say that. What is it?
Spexy.
How do you spell it?
SPEXY.
Sexy would be after this.
Great. .com?
Yeah, not it.
Okay.
We get
So advice on pitching. Hold on just a second. So advice on pitching is if you don't have a super obvious way to spell it, you should spell it. If you don't have a .com, you absolutely have to say what the .com is. And when you're saying it, I mean, if this is a consumer thing that you want people to remember and recognize, enunciate clearly. So, hi, I'm X from Spexy.com, the place to do whatever. If you have this problem, great, we solved that problem. Here's how we solved that problem. Okay, so that was the only thing, is just framing that. I know I kind of caught you on the spot there, but gotta be ready to go anytime. Who's next? I'm sorry, I heard one over here. Stan, yes, go, 30 seconds.
Hi, I'm Harish. I'm from dietjanta.in.
What the fuck? What was that? What?
Indian investors. I'm from dietjanta.in. Janta represents public. I've been trying to lose weight for a really long time, and I've tried all sorts of weird diets, the South Beach diet, the Atkins diet. But the problem is, my maid back home does not understand what the hell guacamole is. How do I convince her to make me a pan-seared grilled fish with guacamole? So what we are proposing at Diet Janta is we'll give you curated meal plans with our team of nutritionists who will put together specific meals suited to the diet that you've already chosen to adopt. If you cannot make the meal at home, we will ship the meal to your office 2 times a day for 5 days a week for about 150 rupees a meal. If you don't want to get it shipped over, if you want to make it yourself...
30 seconds up. 30 seconds up. Everybody understand it? Okay, how many people would check it out? How many people think they might buy it? Okay, that's pretty good. So, quick pitch on that is good food for lazy rich people, right? Healthy food for lazy rich people. Okay, that was pretty good. We'll do one more, back to the room. Yes, go.
Okay, we make, I am Swapnil, I am founder and...
I can't hear you, you have to pitch loud and talk to me.
Okay.
Yes.
I am Swapnil, I am founder...
That's not loud, come on, do it. I'll do that mic, I'm not in here.
Okay. My name is Swapnil, I am founder of a company called Samagra. We make toilets affordable for poor by converting...
Okay, stop for a second. That was, you just pitched solution. We make X.
We make
Who needs X?
toilets for poor by converting poop into power.
Oh, you're the Poop Rewards guy. Awesome name, I love this. So, first of all, if your company name is Poop Rewards, you gotta lead with that. That is just like so awesome. You're just like, they're gonna like, catch it like right, like, hi, I'm from Poop Rewards. And you're like, really? I want to know more. Because probably I take a poop, so that's a big market. It's a high frequency market. And by the way, use humor whenever possible, as long as you don't suck. Yes.
do it.
What?
And you pay a lot if you can't do it.
I think that's canned poop penalties, not poop rewards, but okay. Go ahead, sorry, finish that.
That's it.
So, sorry, this is an affinity business to help provide toilets for folks who can't afford them, right?
That actually, I just pitched by the company that I already have. Not,
Okay.
Not the idea that I'm pitching here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting. But Poop Reward, you are from Poop Rewards? So that was not the Poop Rewards pitch?
That was for my poop company, Poop Power.
I don't care what you do, as long as you say poop, you've got my attention. That's fun to say poop. What can I do? Who doesn't like poop? Like poop, poop, poop. Sounds fun. All right, so anyway, your job in that first 30 seconds is not to communicate exactly what you do. Do you get that? What do you think? What is your job in that first 30 seconds?
You got it excited. Get attention.
Get your attention, right. Well, more than get your attention, be interesting.
And not be weird.
And not be weird, right, there you go. Because like, I can get your attention and I can be really fucking weird. It's okay, I don't really want to know about that anymore. So anyway, and the other thing is, like, if you're doing this deck that might not be for people in the room, you also need to think about, like, how do I design this if people are not there? Will they still have an experience that's interesting if they're just reading about it, right? Or if there's somebody else sent it along. So, you know, the what, how, why thing is, I think, kind of the things that want you to capture. So for Mint.com, it's the free, easy way to manage your money online. Like, oh, I'd like to have more money. I'd like to have that free. I might want to learn more about that. Try and keep expert jargon out of that, unless you know your audience understands that. If you want to do the where X for Y, you can do it. Sometimes that is useful. Make sure when you choose the X for Y that it's easy to understand. Like, so a lot of times, I don't know, does the slideshow ever say where PowerPoint, or YouTube for PowerPoint? Yes. What? Yeah, I don't really actually like that. I keep telling them that. But anyway, YouTube for PowerPoint, like most people know YouTube, most people know PowerPoint, kind of get it. It may not be perfect, but they might be perfect. And have fun. Like, enjoy. If you're not enjoying and passionate about your product, I'm probably not going to be either. So, you know, try and have fun. We'll have fun with you. Okay, so, the problem. Do you see the thumb there? Is that, like, obvious to you that there's something wrong with that? Yeah, that's like somebody broke a thumb. How many people have broken a bone or a limb? Anyone? How many people know somebody else who's broken a bone or a limb? How many people have been there watching it, seen your own limb break or other people's limbs break? Have you like, ow, that fucking hurts, or like, oh, there's a bone sticking out somewhere, or like, shit, I gotta get to the hospital, ah, that hurts, ah! Like, I was, about 20 years ago, I was rollerblading with a friend in Berkeley, and he was, there's like trees in Berkeley, he jumped up to try and grab the tree limb, his momentum swung him through the tree, he fell off and down into hard cement, and he broke his wrist, and it was laying at an angle, it was like this, and he was like, fuck, I broke my wrist, and I was like, oh, you broke your wrist, oh, and it was like, oh, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go get the car keys and go to, oh wait, I don't have the car keys, I gotta go, wait, okay, now I gotta go get him, and then we gotta like run to the hospital, and each time we're like turning on a turn, he's like, so I'm trying to drive real slow, but drive fast at the same time. All right, so, what are you feeling right now? You're sort of feeling a little bit heightened pulse, you're remembering maybe your own pain, somebody else's pain, stomach a little bit, like churning. So, I've taken you through an emotional experience. Probably about a third of you have some relevant connection with that bone that either it was yours or it was a friend. Now, I haven't said anything about my solution yet. And my solution might be wrist guards for someone who's rollerblading. It might be pain relievers. It might be a way to like fix your bumper, your suspension in your car. But I've established an emotional connection with you where you're paying attention, you understand something about the problem that I'm pitching. I've earned the right, hopefully, to pitch maybe a third of you my solution by starting out with that problem and connection. Now, you don't have to tell everybody about something that's painful, but you want to understand the context. You want them to understand your context before you start pitching that solution. If they have a similar context, they will listen. Right? Sometimes you don't even have to tell them your solution. If you just tell them the problem in an interesting and creative way, you might establish a connection and they think you're smart. Like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Maybe I'll even give you some money to figure out that solution. Painkiller, not vitamin. Anybody know what that means? Anybody want to guess what that means? Yes? Okay, kind of, yeah. What I was going for there was scale, right? So sometimes you want to show that pain that's large is more interesting to solve than pain that's only slightly moderate. On the other hand, you could have a very large audience that has, need for vitamins. So there's some proxy for size of market and proxy for amount of money that's paid when based on this painkiller versus vitamin thing. So in the problem statement, you're baking a little bit of size of market and revenue potential, possibly. All right, so I think I told you all about this. I don't need to beat this horse to death, but you kind of want to pitch a problem first, not solution in general. Here's the really offensive slide. There's a book that I love to recommend to people. It's by Jeffrey Miller. It's called Spent, and it actually has two books. One that's called The Mating Mind, which is kind of theory of sexual selection. Charles Darwin spent half his life developing this theory of natural selection, which was strongest, fittest, fastest, conveys, genetic advantage, etc. He spent the rest of his life on this other theory called theory of sexual selection that explained everything else that wasn't explained by the theory of natural selection. That part of his life and work were largely discredited for about 80 to 100 years, and only recently have come back into some level of interest and acceptance. And most of that is about signal theory, about how we convey intellectual sort of development. Rampant growth in brain size started happening about maybe, I'm not sure I remember this exactly, maybe between 500,000 to 1.5 million years ago. Way before we switched from hunter-gatherer societies to agrarian societies. We went through this amazing escalation in brain growth relative to body weight and size. And what Darwin and then later this guy Geoffrey Miller theorized was that by production of complex things, sound, music, humor, whatever, we are conveying information about brain fitness to the other party quickly. So by the production of song, by telling a joke, by having a very interesting or compelling talk, you are conveying information about brain processing power, and there might be genetic advantages that's passed on by that. There's also all sorts of social acceptance cues that are passed on by things. So the clothes that I wear, the car that I drive, all sorts of other people that I hang out with. Why am I telling you all of this? So if you're building an internet business, you're often not right in front of the customer. Right? The way that you convey information about your product is usually through images and text and maybe now video and sometimes sound. So the ways that we process information about what we're building are usually through visual, auditory sensation, and interpretation. So it's not based on code, right? And yet we spend years, or we think it's important to spend years working on coding and development skills to build successful internet businesses. We don't necessarily think that it's important to go spend 3 to 4 years working on behavioral psychology to be successful as an internet entrepreneur. But I guarantee you, it's probably as valuable, if not more so, right? And the production of these images and or text that convey emotional sort of messaging and value about how does this help you, get more food and resources, prevent your kids from being attacked, prevent yourself from being attacked, to satisfy anything in Maslow's hierarchy. All these things are really important to us at a deep emotional, psychological level, and they tie into everything else that we're trying to sell and promise to people, right? And so this marketing message that we convey is really about helping people achieve their extremely deep-seated psychological goals. Hopefully you're doing that ethically and in a way that actually does deliver on those things. But usually it's conveyed through pictures and text and those things in combination, right? So you probably want to help solve people's problems in a way that are emotionally powerful for them. And then, by giving them a sense of that thing that you're going to help them with, by developing code and features, you might actually deliver on that promise. So anyway, I would challenge you to think a little bit about how you understand the user experience of what you're selling to people and the way that you convey those images and text. And hopefully do that in a way that makes customers happy, right, or empowered or whatever. At the same time, it's making your business money. And then you can't probably see that those colors suck. Is it done in a way that's better or different or both from something else, right? And here's the dirty little secret is, if there's no one else in the market that does what you do, you can be really shitty at it, and people will still buy your product and use it. If your market is filled with competitors, capable competitors, with great products at low prices, you have a tough job, right? And then you have to be dramatically better than them. So understanding how you fit into a competitive market is really important to how you pitch your product. We'll come back to that a little bit later. And so if you are in your market number 3 or number 4, what would be interesting is to figure out how can you reframe that market or redefine that customer segment in such a way that you're not number 3 or 4, but you're number 1, right? So maybe we're not the biggest toothpaste maker in all of India, but maybe we're the sexiest toothpaste in all of India, or maybe we're the most appropriate toothpaste for kids, or maybe we're the greenest toothpaste, and I don't really know where I'm going with this. But you want to be different enough from the other things that you then become interesting and compelling in a way for some subset of the customers that you might sell to. Right. Niche to win. And another thing, customer case study can go here. So again, if you don't really have your product defined here, understanding how your customer experiences the problem and how you might solve that differently from products on the market. Okay, get ready for another offensive slide. Whoa! I don't know what that is. It's like, wait, I'm offended, kind of, except it's just a kitten. Anyway, my point here is that you want an image that people will remember. This is now burned in your brain indelibly. So, you're going to get to demo at some point. How many of you think that demoing over an internet connection is the best way to do a demo? Good, you're right. It's a really shitty and stupid way to do a demo. Have a backup. Almost invariably, I would say, have a picture, have a printed slide deck. Be prepared to do interpretive dance in an interesting way in case your demo fails. If you have a backup, then it's okay to maybe try and do an internet demo, and it's sometimes useful to do a demo live over the internet. But in most cases, you want to know that you have a backup solution and maybe even use that backup solution. That will improve your confidence going after a more risky situation. So what happens if the person you're pitching interrupts you in the middle of the demo? What do you think about that? When they interrupt you, what's your reaction? Anyone?
Shoot your question and I'm up for it.
What?
Shoot the question and I'm up for it.
Shoot the question and I'm up for it. So if they interrupt you, you're up for it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put it this way. If they ask you 4 questions in a row and you don't get to finish your demo, is that okay?
Yes.
Why?
You're listening.
Right! Well, more important, they're interacting with you. They're communicating with you. You've won! Stop your fucking presentation. Like, you're like, no, fuck you, I don't care about that. I want to go back to slide 16, slide 17, slide 18. I'm not done yet. I got 30 slides. I'm trying to get over to slide 30. Wait, slide 30. I'm at my end. I'm like, wait. I'm not done with my presentation. They were asking you a question. Way over here. They were asking you a question. Hi, what's your name? What's your product all about? What's your product? Startup Weekend is your product. Isn't that an interesting product? What color is Startup Weekend? Green. It's green. That's interesting. It's green for the first one. Anyway, so my point is, like, when they start asking you questions, you bet, you got it. That's victory, right? You want to establish the idea is to establish the relationship. You don't establish the relationship by getting to slide 30. Hopefully, you don't have 30 slides in your deck. You establish that relationship by having them ask you a question. When they ask you a question, they're interested. They may think you suck, they may think that you're full of shit, and like, you know, oh, I don't believe those numbers. That's okay too. If they hate something, that's okay too. And believe me, if they hate something, it's way better than if they don't give a damn and don't ask you any questions at all. So, if they interrupt you, it's great. And their face is what you should be watching. Don't watch your slides, watch their face, watch the emotional interaction. Are they playing with their BlackBerry? Are they like doing something else that they don't give a damn about? Like, then they're probably not engaged. If they're paying attention, if they ask you questions, they're engaged. You probably won. All right, next. Market size. 2 ways to report this. Somebody else said it was X. And here's the bottom-up calculation. There's X customers. Average transaction size is X. There's Y customers in the market. They do that purchase Z times a year. X times Y times Z is size of market. How fast is X times Y Z growing? How fast is X times Y Z moving from offline to online? Whatever. So first of all, like the unit economic equation there is actually quite interesting. The other thing that's not here is what does it cost to produce X? And also maybe when do you get the money, right? So you might have something that is profitable, or it could be unprofitable. It could be something that you get the money up front and then have to build it, or it could be that you have to build it first and they're going to pay you over 30, 45 days. So understanding unit economics for your product and the timing of revenue, the timing of cost and revenue are extremely important. And by doing this calculation from bottom up, you have at least one size of market. If you're doing it top down based on somebody else's estimates, that's also a way to frame it. And having lots of pretty pictures with graphs going up and to the right is awesome. Okay, business model. How do you make money? If you have 7 ways to make money on your slide, is it better than 3 ways to make money?
No.
Why?
Zero confusion.
Right, well, even more importantly,
Human memory.
like, how come you don't know which one's most important, right? Like, when you list 7 different ways to make money, usually what that tells me is you don't know which one of them is working, right? So I would advise you to keep it to less than, 3 or maybe only 3, but in general, if you have a lot of different ways to make money, just be careful. Some people may interpret that as you don't fucking know. There are lots of different ways to make money. I'm a big fan of direct models, i.e. transactions and subscriptions, or digital goods. Indirect models, we don't do a lot of advertising businesses. We like lead gen and affiliate, but lots of ways to skin the cat. By the way, if you're interested in this stuff, Andrew Chen has a presentation called The Internet Wants to Be Free, but You Need to Get Paid, or something like that. Great presentation that goes into like different business models based on each of those there. Okay, contrary to most people's beliefs, VCs do not take risk. They yes, go ahead, what? Yep.
How can you prioritize by potential size by demographics or something?
Sorry, how can you prioritize by size or potential?
Or by demographics, by literacy rate?
Demographics, yes, right. That's kind of, I'm just saying if you don't exactly know which one is the highest priority, you might just guess based on size of market, or based on, might be a smaller market but really high priority, or it could be that you don't have any competition in this particular segment.
Or do we need to go by one market survey first?
It depends. I mean, I tend to not necessarily believe market surveys, but it's just a framing exercise for you to think about it. If you have actual revenue, that's more interesting, at least from my perspective. Surveys, I don't know. That's usually someone else reported behavior, or even if you're talking to customers, it's their estimated behavior, it may not be actual behavior. But some amount of data is useful, at least to kind of give you a sense. That's a crappy answer, I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. Okay, so I don't know what your proprietary technology advantage is. All I know is that it's important to have one. That might be patents, it might not be patents, it might be people with advanced degrees, it might be people with experience selling or selling companies or doing awesome coding projects. But you want to identify what's your advantage or edge. What's the thing that makes this less risky and more sure, and sell that? And again, I advise that patents aren't always the best thing to ensure proprietary technology or expertise. Competition, this is the one that I would say is most important to me after kind of getting an understanding of your customer and product. So I want to know, who do you know that's out there in the market, and how are you different or better or whatever than that other potential competitor? I generally don't advise people to try and play games hiding their competition. Usually either we will think that you're lying or stupid, neither of which is good. So usually you want to point out your competition and then dissect how you're different or better. Another offensive slide. So if you are producing animation and you wanted to say, hey, we're not the most popular animation out there, but we're the funniest and the most shocking animation, you would say, well, yes, probably South Park is in the funny and most shocking box. If you wanted to go for funny and most brutal, Afro Samurai. Anybody seen Afro Samurai? Incredibly violent and awesome cartoon. Anyway, so your choice of those axes is how you can define yourself to an investor or to a customer in a way that's interesting from the rest of market. So you don't have to be biggest, you don't have to be best, you don't have to be lowest priced, you just have to be different in a meaningful way that is useful to a customer. Marketing plan. I hesitate to get into all the different constructions of ways to do marketing plans. They are extreme, and I would say your opportunity is better than ever these days, but also more challenging than ever. There are lots of different channels for how you can go after customers. The way that I like to think about that is based on things that you can't read below the slide full. Volume, cost, and conversion is the last thing there. So volume, what volume of leads or customers by that particular channel, what's the cost of getting those customers, and then what level of conversion do they have to a target event, whether that's giving you an email address, buying something, or whatever other thing you define as conversion. So a simple way to define a marketing plan would just be to say, here's the different channels by which I get customers, here's the estimated number that might come from those, and what they might cost, and we think we might get some conversion. That's sort of a basic financial picture of customer acquisition cost. The revenue projections or the actual revenue that you report may be information you don't have right away. It's still useful to understand what the cost and channel for coming up with those are. I'm almost done if you're getting bored. So team. Usually this is important. It's not as important if you don't have experience. It is extremely important if you have experience or have material things that your team has done. So depending on how awesome your team is, you might put that earlier or later in the presentation. People who've produced great products, geeks or designers or others, sales and marketing people who've like created lots of revenue or got lots of customers, entrepreneurs who have built and or sold companies. Also, all those things are interesting to investors. So if you have any of them, highlight them. I'd also say use visual branding for either the companies, the products, the schools, whatever you think is relevant, if, again, it's relevant. Lastly, we'd like to know how much money you are raising or how much you are trying to raise. I would also start out by listing if you've raised money in the past. In general, I like to think about a small, medium, and large budget. So small is what's the absolute minimum you need to be successful at any level. Large is what's the most amount of money you think you might get away with or people might give you. And then you might also want to map out how you would use that capital. So basically into 3 buckets. 1, how you would build product. 2, how you would get customers. And 3, how you would do anything else that isn't building product or customers, usually operational overhead or other administrative areas. This is kind of boring, so I won't get into it, but this might be a way that you would describe, like, hey, we've raised some money, here we're going to raise some more money, here's how we're going to use the proceeds from that money. Probably too many bullets on that slide. Lastly, if you want to find out more about this presentation or other folks who have interesting things to say about pitching, again, these slides are on the web on SlideShare. If you Google how to pitch a VC, you'll see some form of this presentation. I also tweeted it out under the swdel link. I'm done unless you guys have really interesting and useful questions. Thank you.
Any specific resources for seed accelerators? Like
Any specific resources for?
seed acceleration, companies who are not...
You want to run an accelerator or you want to apply to an accelerator? You want to apply to an accelerator. So for us, we don't actually have an application process. So for us, it's like going through a mentor. For YC, I'm pretty sure there's a couple of different blog posts about applying to YC. Paul, do you know if I'm forgetting anything? Anybody else know? Like, I have not seen, probably Quora. There's probably a few posts on Quora about how to apply to an accelerator program. In general, I would say talk to people who've gone through those programs before and see if you can get them to give you hacks or advice on how to get into those programs. For us, most of our investment selection, whether it's through our accelerator program or seed program, are based on other mentors or founders' references. When people are talking to the audience, it's actually not their fault. It means I'm not being interesting. Other questions? Let's go with 2 because you guys aren't really raising your hand. If nobody else wants a question, we'll stop right now. Yes?
What was the mistake in terms of the investment that you made as a VC or an angel?
Which one? Probably like more than half of our portfolio. What do you mean?
The biggest or
biggest mistake? I mean, so many, it's hard to say. Well, there's mistakes in selection where we just miss the pitch. So like I didn't invest in Airbnb, I didn't invest in Living Social, I didn't invest in Uber. I mean, there's like numerous companies that like fucked up and didn't invest in. That happens pretty often. There's investments we made that obviously don't work out. That happens very frequently. Biggest one, probably Canopy Financial. I invested in someone who I don't think committed a crime, but the other people he started the company with were indicted. That sucked. Yeah, I thought my $25,000 investment was worth $1 million. It turns out it was worth 0. That sucked.
Why didn't you invest in Airbnb?
Why didn't I invest in Airbnb? They were, at the time, pitching cereal boxes, which I thought was kind of weird.
cereal box?
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm stupid. That's probably why. It was a little bit. They were pitching, hey, we'll do bed and breakfast, right? So Airbnb was originally bed and breakfast. They later decided the breakfast part was way too complicated. So they were gonna give people cereal boxes to help people who aren't naturally good chefs who wanted to do the breakfast part of the bed and breakfast. Yeah, see, that was my reaction too. I was like, what the fuck? Not my fault, right? It's not my fault I messed up. One more, or we're done? Or we're done now? Yes?
What's your suggestion on taking care of the legal aspects at the early stage of the startup? It's costly to hire a good lawyer, but you need to...
Yeah, sometimes. It's not that, well, I don't know here, so I'm not sure about what's going on here. It's usually not that expensive cash-wise. Sometimes it's expensive in that you end up giving them part of your company unnecessarily. These days in the Valley, it's not that expensive. You can do the legal incorporation for easily under $5,000. Sorry, that may still be a lot of money to some of you. Talk to other people who've done it before. I would still suggest doing basic incorporation is probably a good idea, and I wouldn't use the cheapest online whatever incorporation. There's certain incorporation structures which are important, at least to venture investors, and redoing them later can be a lot more expensive. So if you want to take money from certain types of investors, you should make sure the legal structure that you're setting up is matching that. I don't typically think it's that expensive these days, but again, I don't know the local market as well as I do Silicon Valley. There are lots of resources again on that. So Brett Feld and Fred Wilson and Mark Suster have a lot of great posts on this. AskTheVC.com, VentureHacks.com, Quora are all great resources for that stuff. I don't know if they're India specific though. Okay, one more, yes?
What's your advice for startups on building together a board of advisors and how to incentivize them?
Right. Usually having domain-specific advisors is useful. I would probably look at recruiting them in areas that you're not as good at. So product development, recruiting, legal, tax, fundraising, design. I tend to think a lot in terms of product, customer, other stuff. We tend to recommend between 0.1 to 0.25% of equity vested monthly over 2 years, not over 4 years like an employee, but usually over 2 years. Usually no cliff on that, so you start right away. Fire your advisors if they're not working for you. There's two types of advisors. There's people who are famous that make you look good, and people who do real work. Both of those are useful. I wouldn't give up more than 0.5% or 1% unless they're really awesome, but you might give more equity earlier in the life cycle of the company, particularly before you've raised capital. I generally wouldn't give advisory shares to people who are investors or who could be investors. In particular, you don't want to give advisory shares to someone who looks like they would be an investor and then they never invest. Right? Because if they are an advisor, they should know that you're awesome, and if they're a likely investor, if they don't invest, that's a bad signal. So don't generally give advisory shares to people who are normally investors, or else get them to invest. Your mileage may vary in different markets. I don't know if those stats are the same. Okay, we're getting more questions, so I'll keep going unless you guys tell me otherwise. You, and then maybe we'll be done. Yes?
There are already many companies like in the early startup phase in India, in like e-commerce space, travel space, mobile space. So I wanted to know your thoughts, your predictions about Indian.
My predictions about individual categories probably don't matter that much. We're interested in e-commerce. We think that's a good place, particularly domestic market India. Interested in consumer education. Probably interested in small business productivity tools and things like that. I'm less interested in the group buying and the social games categories, but other people are. I wouldn't generally design your business for what's hot and interesting. I would design your business around products and services that you know or need or use or want. And usually building a product based on things that you know or need or want and that other people you know need or want is a better way to go than what investors think is hot. Last one or two, yes.
What's about when you're forming a team?
Yes.
How you go about separating the equity sharing agreement and all that stuff?
Oh man, that's a long conversation. Yeah, I don't know. Rule of thumb: founders split 80% somehow. Probably they still vest, particularly if you're collecting equity. So you don't give people that equity right up front. It usually vests over a period of time. Even for founders, it might vest over some period of time, not always. Usually every time you do a round of financing, you're asked to create an option pool of between 10 to 15%, maybe up to 20%. That's usually for the non-founder or non-management team employees. Sorry, management's included in that as well. That's a complicated question. Lots of good resources on that, though. I would read it. Are they really awesome, really urgent questions? They're all waiting here.
How can you do, are there any resources or processes for rapid prototyping, market testing without spending a lot of money?
Get your product out as quickly as possible to a small number of customers. Resources for rapid prototyping, yeah, lead startup, Eric Reese, Sean, Sean's last name. Sean Ellis, thank you. Dan Martell, usual suspects on that. The other thing I would say is test imagery and text before you actually build products, and try and understand what usage and interest levels are by active testing on that. And then getting the heave ho, so I think we're done. I apologize for going long. Thank you all for listening.